Now we come to the portion of the service before we do our Bible study that we do an End Times News and Prophecy update as we do each week. And this will be a very brief because of the special message that we have this morning. The events of this week is just getting crazier and crazier. You know, each week that goes by. There is a continued escalation what's going on in the Middle East and specifically in Syria. The Russian buildup of their military. Last week we mentioned how the Iranian fighter jet flew within 150 kilometers of the borders. So we're starting to see they're testing the waters there. It would seem that Israel is starting to get nervous, even though they've got a lot of protection and God's going to protect them. But you see the Russian operations are getting closer and closer to the Golan Heights border. We do know that there's going to be war happening. It's just a matter of time. The U.S. aircraft has just moved into the Persian Gulf, or not the Persian Gulf, the Mediterranean now. So we know when more of those sort of things are starting to take place, you see the reactions of Turkey. But all these pieces of the puzzle of what Ezekiel 38 and 39 tell us, all these things are coming to pass. It's just a matter of time before this war breaks out. So it's just pay attention to what's going to continue to unfold in the Middle East. On a religious issue, because we always talk about that filter grid and how things fall into place in Bible prophecy, just something interesting comment that the Pope made in his visit in Africa this last week, declaring that Christian fundamentalism is sickness that must be combated. Fundamentalism, as he says, is a disease of all religions, and he included the Catholic Church, so there's extreme there. But also part of the comment he made is those that believe in absolute truth are dangerous. So dangerous, so where you even see the Norwegian government, they seized 5 children from this Christian family that were taken to the social services because of Christian doctrination, because they're believers. And for example, the reason the oldest girl who was going to school there was taken because she was talking and singing about Jesus at school, and the school director filed a complaint against it. So what they have done, the Norwegian government has taken all the kids and put them in foster care instead of, having them in their homes. So interesting story, but this is nothing far-fetched from what's going to happen with other governments around the world because of our Christian faith, because of the truth, absolute truth. The Bible's the Word of God. There's only one way into heaven, and that's through Jesus. On an economic issue, as we've been reporting, there's going to be a collapse. Right now, there's 27 major global stock markets that have already crashed into double digits. Brazil's plunging into a depression. And it's interesting as the Olympics are going to be there next year. But the trillions of dollars of stock market wealth have been wiped out globally. And they're already crashing all over the planet. As we've seen little bits and pieces, it's just going to snowball effect. We see what took place in Greece. Other countries are filing for bankruptcy. It's just a matter of time that they're going to have a one world cashless society, global government, and these are all parts of the puzzle. Then on Wednesday, this one definitely shocked the world, but we're going to see more of these things take place. But the attack in San Bernardino, this is about 50 minutes from where I used to live, where the female, again, the FBI are saying that the female attacker pledged allegiance to Islamic State. They killed her and her partner, husband. Killed 14 people, injured dozens of others, and have connections to radical Islamic group. And during the attack, they're pledging allegiance to Islamic State as the rampage was going on. The reports, again, and this is where I'm going to finish with this information about the media. Even what's taken place this last several years, and I'll give you a report in just a second, but there's more and more of these mass shootings taking place, okay? When you compile the data over the last 5 presidents since Reagan till now, and a mass shooting would be considered where there's 4 deaths or more by the FBI. But clearly, if you were to chart the graph, you'll see how there's an escalation of over 700% since Obama's taken office. In the 7 years he's been in office, there's a skyrocket of 700% more mass shootings that has taken place than any other president. That's a lot. to consider, but there's an agenda behind it. Okay? Since he's been in office, there's been the largest push for gun control in American history when you look at what's gone on. And so happens to coincide that there's more mass shootings ever than in American history. Again, when George W. Bush got into office, there was a lot of mass shootings, but nothing like we've seen over these years since Obama's pushed his agenda. So there is more than just what the media wants to tell you. Okay, so take what the media says, what the lamestream media tells you with a grain of salt, because there's other stuff that's happening behind the scenes that they're not going to tell you or to report. So make sure you do your homework. When you look at the stories, you look at the pictures and the videos and the witnesses and the whole scenario and the evidence, it's not always what the mainstream media is reporting. So I'm just saying, just take what they say with a grain of salt, information, but do your homework. Because there's a lot of reports how this could have been set up by the government itself to continue to push the agenda, to put fear within people, to take away people's rights, freedom of speech. A lot of people, when they speak out against things like this and they call it for what it is, their Facebook accounts gets closed down, things like that. But again, the whole taking freedoms away and within America, the Second Amendment right with the gun rights, perhaps it was another false flag, as we're starting to see a lot of these things. So when you talk about false flags, a lot of these things have a lot of the makings. So happens all the SWAT team and all these other drills were taking place on the same day, so they're ready to roll with it. So a lot of coincidences that are taking place. But I'm just saying that we take some of these things with a grain of salt, information to consider. But again, the media has an agenda. They have a way to try to persuade a worldview. And it is a battle of worldviews when it comes down to it. And that's what we face on a regular basis with believers and non-believers. Whether it's Muslim or atheists and evolutionists, it's a worldview issue. And so we need to make sure we're equipped and understanding what's going on in the events of the world. And it's a great opportunity to witness and tell people about Jesus because he's coming back soon. And so a lot of other items we could discuss, but for time's sake, we're going to pause it there. But just be careful what you listen to, what you read. Do your homework because it's not always what it appears to be. And that concludes today's update.